Glen Magna Farms survives unrivaled as an estate exemplifying historic North Shore summer living. During the War of 1812, Joseph Peabody, the wealthiest Salem shipping merchant, bought a 20-acre Danvers property with a dwelling house described as, in every respect, well calculated for a gentleman's seat. From the initial 20-acre purchase, the property grew to over 330 acres, enduring as the summer retreat for the family for 144 years. By 1892, the property belonged to Ellen Peabody Endicott, Joseph Peabody's granddaughter, who further enlarged and embellished the house and grounds. In 1893, she hired the Boston architectural firm of Little, Brown, and Moore to design the expansion of the mansion to its classical colonial revival form. In 1926, the year before Ellen Endicott died, she received the Honeywell Gold Medal, a prestigious honor granted by the Massachusetts Horticultural Society. Her son, William Crowninshield Endicott Jr., continued to lavish attention on the farms, upgrading and enhancing the estate until his death in 1936. He was instrumental in bringing the Derby Summer House, built in 1794, to the property in 1901. The building has been listed as a National Historic Landmark since 1968. In 1963, the Danvers Historical Society purchased the central 11 acres of the property and has worked to restore the gardens and grounds to its early 20th century appearance. The Massachusetts Historical Commission and the Massachusetts Historical Society have recognized the garden preservation efforts. The circular drive and barn road were laid out by the architectural landscape firm of Olmsted, and Elliott in the 1890s. Under their plan, the farm buildings were moved away from the house to the east meadow. The iron bridge that crosses the wetlands was erected in the 1930s. The old-fashioned gardens on the south side of the house were designed and planted in 1814 and 1815 by George Huesler. Huesler enclosed the gardens with buckthorn. He designed these gardens around a large tulip tree and central mound, with a triple path that led to the Peabody gazebo in the 1890s. Charles Elliott embellished the beds by introducing new annuals and perennials, including geraniums, peonies, lilies, hostas, and hollyhocks. The Chamberlain Garden, designed in the Italianate style, was laid out by Joseph Chamberlain in 1896. Chamberlain, husband of Mary Endicott, was an influential British politician who visited his wife's family in 1896 and 1898. As originally designed, the gardens were bordered on the east by a barberry hedge, the north by a rustic cedar post of climbing roses, the south by a rustic cedar pergola, and west by a buckthorn of the old-fashioned garden. In 1930, Herbert Brown designed a low brick wall for the east side and brick columns for the north and west, and brought in 10 marble columns from the Cushing estate in Belmont to form the Cushing pergola of the south side. The same wisteria planted in 1899 that has covered the rustic pergola then covered the 12-foot columns. Joseph Chamberlain laid out the Shrubbery Garden during his 1898 visit to the farms. Essentially English in design, the garden contained exotic plant material, much of which was imported from England. One of the surviving specimens is the monumental cluster of weeping beech trees. Others include rhododendrons, hemlocks, forsythia, azaleas, fringe trees, and a dogwood. Charles Sargent was a frequent guest and generously shared his advice. Azaleas growing in the Shrubbery Garden were a gift from Sargent to the Endicotts. Glen Magna Farms was described by Louise Endicott as it is near as heaven as one can be in the world. In her later years, she could be seen peering out the rose garden from the upstairs window of the Derby summer house. Designed by Herbert Brown in 1904, the rose garden is enclosed by a brick wall and contains 2 fountains. The large pool on the east side of the rose garden once contained lotuses and exotic water lilies. The recently restored plantings include perennials and dozens of period roses. Glen Magna Farms is owned by the Danvers Historical Society, a private, not-for-profit founded in 1889 to discover, collect, and preserve objects which illustrate local history, but particularly the history and development of the town of Danvers.